Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. Welcome to the special transmission that takes place at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Today we have some update on what got discussed in the 2-hour conference between Putin and President Donald Trump. We have a small slide deck to share with you and a small request to all of you to please like this video, and if you have already not subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel. A lot of things are going to be discussed here. These are things that will not see the day of light. However, they were very much discussed. This much we know from reliable sources, and we have given you a bunch of links in the reference section. If you want to go in, if you go into the description section of the video, you will see a bunch of links. You can go through that to get a little bit more in-depth perspective on what we are going to be talking about. So here we go. Beyond the headlines, what got discussed? Now, a couple of things that I want to set straight before we even go further. One of the things that has sort of been agreed to is that there will be no membership for NATO for Ukraine, and I think they'll also not be allowed to join EU, at least at this point of time. Maybe in the near future they may be allowed to join. Second thing is, United States has said that please do spare the lives of the people who are stuck in Kursk, and this is where things are getting a little more contextual. Putin has said that yes, I will, as long as they surrender. However, there seems to be a small problem. We'll talk about that also, what that problem is. Also, there are going to be other things that are going to be discussed. For example, this ceasefire is temporary and it only applies to energy installations like nuclear power plants. Don't bomb each other's nuclear power plants, don't bomb each other's power supply generation, don't destroy dams that are generating hydroelectric power. You get the idea. I think Putin also realizes that Ukraine may have some really long-range missiles that might be able to escape detection by the radars in the in Russia. So there is some sort of a detente as far as the energy installations are concerned. Infrastructure, those things will be spared. I still don't know if Ukraine has internet or not, because one of the first things that Putin did was to take out the internet in Ukraine. That's how Starlink got involved, and that's how Elon Musk is jumping up and down that he has not been paid for it. And Polish president said something, somebody from a Polish minister said something, and that has been clarified that look, what you're talking about is not even in the tip of the iceberg, that sort of stuff. It is believed that Elon Musk presented a bill with the Department of State for the expenses of having Starlink being there for about 2.5 years. Everybody has gotten used to it now. So we have to wait and see how that plays out. There's all these interesting stories going along. So let's take a quick look at what else happened. Trump requested Putin, I told you, to spare the lives of soldiers captured, and Putin has said that they need to surrender. So that is one point. Second, unreported fact, nearly 30 NATO officers, including missile and air defense operators, were allegedly captured by Russia. 30 NATO officers. Now you see what the problem is. If they surrender, then it would become apparent that NATO actually was participating in the war, which would mean that all NATO countries would have to get involved in it. But it is all in a dotted line, just like the way Pakistan always sends army regulars in the garb of freedom fighters or whatever they want to call it, tribal war chiefs and all that BS that they spewed from 47 all the way up to 99. Even now they sometimes do that. NATO sources claim these officers are only surrounded, not captured. So the NATO has said something to this. Some American veterans are also believed to be among the captured officers. This makes it very, very interesting. That means in loosely, US also is involved in this now. Now, this is the reason perhaps why Trump intervened. 10 or 20 is what I heard. So we'll see. Negotiations are ongoing between Russian forces and field commanders to try and see a way out. I'm also going to touch upon I hope everybody is able to hear me. I think you're all able to hear. Yeah. I'm also going to touch upon what happens to the 100-year deal that Zelenskyy signed with United Kingdom. Do remind me if I miss it. I'll come to that at the end of this talk. Now, there are many other places where the Russian forces are advancing. Now, if you remember, within a month of the start of this war, I had said that Russia aims to go all the way up to the Dnipro River, because they now want to create a buffer zone, so that if NATO were to advance in the future, that buffer zone would be what is remaining of Ukraine east of the Dnipro River. See how things has changed. Ukraine was supposed to be the buffer between USSR or Russia and NATO, and now Russia is cutting it into two, or hoping to cut it into two, and have everything to the east of Dnipro River on their side, including they have eyes on Odessa port also. I'll come to that in just one moment. Have you liked this video? I hope you have, because a lot of stuff is going to be discussed here. Massive arms and ammunition warehouses, both above and underground, were targeted by Russian drone strikes. They are going after the Sumy Oblast. Now, if you go and look at the map of Ukraine, these are all things that are southwards, and they were extending up to Dnipro River. Near the south, the Dnipro River to the ocean is not very big, but as you go further up north, then you have this Donbass region, and after that some other oblasts that are like practically plains. If Ukraine is not able to stop the Russian advance, they will be able to drive all the way up to the Dnipro River. In fact, they're even talking about taking over Kiev. That's as bad as how it looks, because Ukraine doesn't seem to have forces to fall back on. They have expended just about every able-bodied person. In fact, I even showed you in one of our monologues how 16-year-olds were being picked up from the street to go fight in the war. That means many people are probably trying to escape Ukraine. It is believed that out of the 44 million that were there when the war commenced, at least 8 million have left Ukraine and have settled all over Europe. That's another set of immigrants that Europe is dealing with. So this is not an ideal situation. And what will happen when the war stops? Will Russia be able to take back all these Ukrainians and give them the land? Is the other story. I don't know if you've heard the hangout I had with Simon Hunt and Dan Rainier, where Simon mentioned that many big billion-dollar corporations of the United States actually gave out loans to Ukrainians in lieu of their land to build houses. And now if the land is gone, what happens to their surety? What security do they have? In fact, how many of them are still around living in their houses? So a lot of other questions. That could be one explanation why Deep State wanted to continue fighting, in the hope that somehow they can keep these lands together. A lot of things are happening there too. Okay. Next, videos released by Russia show secondary and tertiary explosions suggesting large-scale destruction of NATO supplies. So even if they are keeping on sending all these arms and artillery, if the depots are being taken out, what good is it? That's just waste. They all go up in huge ball of smoke. What is the negotiations concentrating on? Trump admin is negotiating with Russia to vacate the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. This was the one that was key, because that supplies close to 30% of the electricity for the rest of Ukraine. And if that falls in Russia's hand, right now it is in Russia's hand, and it is believed that they are allowing electricity to flow out. It is believed. I have some of my Ukraine-based friends are those who are actually keeping track of this in a more closer granularity, can update me on that. So they want the Zaporizhzhia plant back to Ukraine. But if not, they want to have some ironclad guarantees that Russia would continue to supply power. Next, Russia wants control over the Odessa port, which means that whatever is left of Ukraine will not have any ports. That's a huge question. I don't know if whoever is left in Ukraine would agree to that or not. And certainly the days of Zelenskyy as being the face of Ukraine are fast coming to an end. Like I said, I'll tell you about that 100-year agreement at the end of this. So I don't know if Odessa port will change hands. My gut feeling is it will not. They'll say that, look, you have 𝗡, you have other places, you just use those to take out the grains that you're going to harvest from Ukraine. I think that's where, see, every time, see, whenever you're sitting down for ceasefire, right, you ask for 100 things, you might get 50 things, and you go away satisfied, I got 50 things. Don't tell your people that you started with 100. You just say, we started negotiating and I got 50 things, right? These are all like everybody walks out with a win. Except that I think now United States has accepted that it has lost in this particular endeavor. Zelensky's government is forcibly drafting males over 16 years old. I've shown you videos. Now, the other thing is the new recruits will be sent to NATO, EU countries for training and kept there as reserve forces. You know, as in 2021 and 2022, as Russia was amassing troops along the borders of Ukraine, it is believed that 400,000 Ukrainians were taken to NATO countries to get trained so that they could fight. So it's not like Ukraine did not prepare for this. They were also preparing. But where do you think the problem went? We have done many videos on this one, Minsk I, Minsk II agreement, Zelensky coming to power saying that he will implement it. He did not implement it. Then it is believed that neo-Nazis were turned loose on Russian favoring people in the Donbass region. A lot of atrocities committed. This forms the backdrop of why Russia said, okay, enough is enough, we are coming in. Okay, so that is the other story. Now, what happens to UK and its Prime Minister Keir Starmer? Keir Starmer is advocating for 10,000 UK troops in Ukraine along with NATO and EU forces. I have a picture. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to add that. I have a picture that shows that the total strength of United Kingdom Army is, let me see if I can get that picture. It is, oops, not that one. Hang on. Okay, I got a picture. The present UK Army strength is 74,000 and about 12,000 are ready for active duty. And they want to send 10,000 Ukraine groups in Ukraine alongside NATO and EU forces. That means practically much of UK's army would be wiped out if they go there. What is the remaining 2,000 going to do? Also, we have to do a lot of logistic support of the 10,000 who might be seeing action there. Most NATO allies are hesitant and not supporting this move. Germany, I think, has said no. Italy said no. I think France is sort of on both sides. Sometimes it says no, sometimes it says yes. So, be that as it may, the number of people on the NATO side are not many. I don't think US is interested. US is actually trying to stop the war. So this is probably not an idea that's going to go far. Now, what is Russia's plan to uninstall a pro-Kremlin leader in Ukraine? Remember, I told you about this. Actually, I know I didn't tell, but remember, this also got discussed in the Simon Hunt, Alex Kreiner hangout, where both said that one of the terms of agreement would be Putin would want to install his own person there so that he can control Ukraine, just like the way he is controlling Belarus now, or Belarus. So this might be something that might not be palatable to NATO, and that because if a Russian leaning person becomes the president of Ukraine, then that person would basically say, NATO, no, no, no. So that would be another point of contention. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Then, what about the agricultural products, minerals, steel, and aluminum? Will this be exported to both Russia and the US? See, this is something where the NATO may not have much of a say, except for that 100-year agreement, which I'll come to in just a moment. So, this is another sticking point. Neither Russia nor NATO/EU is willing to stop the war until key objectives are met. What are the key objectives? They want to capture Crimea also. That's one thing that Zelenskyy has been saying. Come on, guys. That train has left the station a long time ago. That ship has sailed a long time ago. I don't think that is possible. Now, how quickly Trump and Putin enforce elections in Ukraine will likely determine when the war ends. So, in other words, you have two tracks going. One is return to democracy for Ukraine and to have elections held and not continue with Zelenskyy. So Zelenskyy probably will be voted out if elections are held. And who will hold these elections? Will India be able to go and hold the elections so that it looks like it is impartial and fair? Because that's another thing that Russia is concerned, that United States may be rigging the elections. I mean, this flies both ways, okay? People say that in Brazil as well as in Venezuela, the elections were rigged. Who rigged those? Well, you have to find out who were close to these two countries. You get the idea. So what I'm trying to say is all these things, both sides appear to be doing a few things that perhaps won't meet the smell test, and that would be a problem. Okay, now let's come to the main question. If US and Russia agree on terms and decide to divvy up the usable assets of Ukraine, what happens to the 100-year deal that Keir Starmer signed with Zelenskyy on the 16th of January 2025, 4 days before Trump assumed office? Well, one of the things that would be said is that Zelenskyy's term ran out, and you can make a strong case on that because Zelenskyy wasn't really running a democratic government. He shut down every voice opposed to him. He shut down channels, he shut down parties, he put opposition party leaders in jail. So all these things, it's just saying that this is a wartime and so on and so forth. So if you go by the book of the Ukrainian constitution, then it means that a president has to have been re-elected, war or no war. But only the parliament could extend its own session after. So if there is no president, then the person who would be authorized to sign on behalf of Ukraine a sovereign agreement would be the Speaker of the Parliament. I've said this thing a couple of times before. Everybody is coming around to that view. So if elections, then a new president. If not, then the Speaker of the Ukrainian Parliament, that's the person who would sign on the dotted line, and then they would be sitting down and say, okay, now get back to peacetime. So a lot of things have been happening. I hope you understood that these things were discussed, but they have not been given out in terms of line items on what got agreed, what did not get agreed. So you can ask me, how do I know? Well, there are many sources, reliable sources, who have been giving us updates, and we took a few hours to put it together. That's why we didn't jump out right away after the cessation of the meeting to say that, okay, this is what got discussed. We wanted to make sure that the items that actually got talked were also at least highlighted. I'm not saying every one of these things are going to come out in the open and some agreement will be happening, but at least these are being talked about. That's all I wanted to say. I'm done with my part, and let me see if there are any questions from you guys. Let's see. Just give me 1 second. I've got a few more people who have got their questions. Okay. Krishnamurti C wants to know, my bet something horrible will be done in Ukraine and will be blamed on Russia. Deep state will strike back at this peace deal brokered by President Trump. I hope it won't come to that, Krishnamurti ji. After all, at the end of the day, the deep state also needs to work with the Trump administration. Otherwise, they will be the ones who will lose out more. They are always successful because they can control the ball movement. That's a term that's used in American football. Ball movement is essentially a key ingredient in the way you play the game. So I think that, again, those will be separate discussions. There are people from the deep state who are looking after their interests in the Trump administration. So trust me, this will be addressed. Next. Check out Britain Education Minister, too funny. Well, it's supposed to be an advisor, not exactly full education, but something else, a little bit more than that, a little nuanced though. Take a look at the actual post name. 𝗤𝗽𝗍 wants to know what is Trump going to do about Zelensky's deal with UK Starmer? What will happen to that deal? Well, thanks for asking that question. So I told you that if they rule that Ukraine, that Zelenskyy was not really authorized to sign on behalf of the sovereign country of Ukraine, then that deal becomes void. And I think UK is desperately trying to not get that to come out in the public, and they may also want to have some sort of a dividend out of all this stuff. I don't know where that is going to go. See, another update. Canada's Ontario's minister, or what do you call him? This is a different name. Ontario, not governor, but it's a different name, premier or something like that. He was breathing fire that they are going to levy 25% tariffs on electricity that flows into United States. Well, he has withdrawn all that, and Trump has in turn withdrawn the duties on aluminum from 50% down to 25% again. That's another thing that happened. Also, in the USAID case, another judge has ruled against the DOGE decision to let go of so many people. There is a surprise there, but I think the Trump administration will appeal that, and let's see what happens. At least at some effect is there. USAID is up in limbo again. Trump effect. What will be the impact of Russia-Ukraine negotiations on NASDAQ? That's a good question. NASDAQ, I don't think is dependent on the outcome in Ukraine, although there may be some players who may have invested a lot of money there. I think overall, all's not well with the stock market. Everybody has been predicting a correction for a while. In fact, the Treasury Secretary said over the last few days that a correction is good for the market. So you're seeing, stocks go down a lot. Last week, I think it was a loss for all the stock, the indices in United States. And this week, I think yesterday it was up. I did not check what happened today. It's possible that it might go up and down, up and down. But I think if you look at the price to earnings ratio of this Magnificent Seven, that is mind-boggling. That's all I can say. Also, I'm also hearing that up to 10,000 mid-level managers and senior managers in Amazon are going to be let go. That's a big number. And Amazon has had only few profitable quarters right through its existence. How come the stock is so high? These are questions that are going to be asked. If you watch Dr. Aswath Narayanan of NYU, his lectures, you will see that he says that on an average, Amazon spends close to $900+ on an Amazon Prime account, for which you and I, who are living in the United States, are paying $125 or something in that ballpark. So we are coming out ahead. We're getting $850 worth stuff free. So a lot of things are happening. I think there is a correction. In fact, Fed is meeting today and tomorrow, and they think that there may be no reduction in interest rate. They are afraid that the moment the Fed announces that they are reducing the rates, then that will be the trigger that will cause a market rout. Mano wants to know what's the leverage UK has with the US. They have to import everything from agriculture, energy, manufacturing. They don't have anything to self-sustain except financial products. Your thoughts? That's a very good question, Mano. I think UK has financial stuff, of course, and they're also tax haven. I mean, they are the ones where, like, for example, if you want to have a company in Virgin Islands or one of those many British administered or British originated islands, Bahamas, for example, it's enough if you register the company in the company's house in London, and you can open the company in somewhere else, bank account. You'll have a ready-made slate of directors available and willing to do your bidding. So in 1 hour, 2 hours, you can open a new company, and then you can transfer money from an existing company in a different tax haven into this new company. Everything done in a snap, and then close the previous company. That's how people hide their traces, hide their tracks. So this used to be the norm in United Kingdom. As a matter of fact, when Modi came to power, I had a lot of high hopes that he would crack down on all these things. And we did article after article of all the UPA people Sharad Pawar, for example, Rahul Gandhi, back ops. Who do you think started the back ops stuff? It was PGurus. Chidambaram stuff, NSE, a lot of these things, we took it to the next level. Unfortunately, nothing has happened. Not even leave alone the person, their pets have not gone to prison. So that's how things are. What can I say? Whatever be the compulsions of Modi government, I will always think that that was something that was very sad. They didn't really crack down, because if you don't crack down, it'll keep continuing. Sandy the Monk wants to know, I have a question with regards to semiconductors. How valuable is it to learn using Synopsis Sentaurus? I have not done chip design using Synopsis tools, but Synopsis tools are supposed to be the most powerful. You may have to start from the basics of understanding physics, semiconductors, what is a semiconductor, and then build your knowledge on that. There are chip design courses available, I think even in online courses. However, you need to have some hands-on experience to understand this. I mean, when I was doing semiconductor courses, those who were specializing actually had a foundry in each university campus. You could wear the white suit and go inside and do your own chip design. I mean, one of the universities that I studied at, Colorado State University, they were, I think, number 4 or number 3 in semiconductors at that point of time, because they were among the pioneers of the 3,5 compounds, not silicon, but 3,5 is gallium arsenide, indium phosphide, that sort of stuff. And they had done a lot of work on that at that time. I'm talking about 80s, and in those days, if you wanted speed, you needed to use what is called as ECL logic, not TTL logic. Today, everything is TTL based. CMOS is, of course, the actual preferred name now, meaning 0 to 5. Now that 5 has come down to 1.8, I don't know if it's gone lower than that. I haven't kept track of the semiconductor industry. A lot of things have happened there too. Mano says, Chidambaram has a house in Cambridge with a company name. Mr. 𝗟𝗏 is trying hard to open a bank account in UK. It just costs £45 to start a company and have any address. I'm sure 𝗟𝗏, if you're talking about the son-in-law of Stalin, he would have already opened it by now. Yes, we have published articles in PGurus.com with pictures of the houses that Chidambaram's own. There are some along the campus of, I think, Cambridge, if I remember correctly. And there are also standalone big houses. There are pictures of him standing in front of those houses. A lot of stuff has been published. Nothing has been acted upon. Go to pgurus.com and search on Karthi, K-A-R-T-I, or Chidambaram. You will find all these articles. There are lots of articles. Indian government is doing nothing to stop corruption. You need a 4th branch of government to stop corruption. Yes, indeed, it's very unfortunate, and you have to understand that the kind of corruption, the level of corruption, the sophistication of the corruption tells you that it was not the politician who did it, but some IAS officer that he trusts a lot, and these were the ones who went and did all the research, found out this tax haven is better than that tax haven. You get the stuff, and then they were sent abroad with ways to move all this money around, and they also enriched themselves in the process. And they are still in levels of power. I have said this, when Modi came to power in 2014, 27 people were in very, very critical positions. Chidambaram made sure of that. And they all had to go. But Modi didn't do anything. What can I say? I'm not complaining against Modi. He may have his compulsions. But that's what happened. Manu wants to know, if US finds another country for dollar clearance, can UK survive? As UK is the biggest clearing house outside US. Yeah, it's possible. Gift City can do it. Gift City, I mean, people might be able to even move to Gift City to do that thing. Dubai is another place. Singapore is another place. Manofsan wants to know, will Putin simply push on until he gets Odessa and the entire Black Sea coast? Now that he has the upper hand, can EU seriously put in their own peacekeepers without getting attacked? Good question, but like I said, UK is the one that has been putting the front foot forward, and they have only, I think I'll tell you, they have only 12,000 who are ready for combat, of which they want to put 10,000. And the total is 74,000. The remaining 62,000 are, semi-retired, or they need to get into training. You get the idea. So there are not many people who are willing to send their soldiers. This is certain death. So I don't think that's going to happen. So somewhere something will have to come, something will have to happen to stop this thing from continuing further. Viewers, that's all I have, and stay tuned. This is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning of the end, and the end has a long way to go. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.